My name is Councilman Neil Foley, and I represent this area. I am joined by a couple colleagues from government that have been very instrumental in getting this message out and supporting what these residents are going to go through or going through. I have Legislator Dominic Thorne, Assemblyman Joe DeStefano, and Senator Dean Murray next to me on my right. And then we have two residents over here, Paula and Pasquale, that I've spoken to numerous times. The reason we're here today, ladies and gentlemen, is to bring to your attention that the folks here are going through a struggle. The struggle is their communication is being cut off. Now, Senator Murray will come up and talk to you about it. We've talked to Bremer about some ideas. Hopefully we come to a happy medium. But the idea of asking people in their 80s, 90s, or even older to work a cell phone, to have iOS 17 or iPhone 15 is just ridiculous. All we want is some common sense here. Let these folks have their hard lines, their phones that they've been used to their whole entire life. This is a situation that could be life and death. If you have an individual that's having chest pains or having a mini stroke or a stroke, and the only thing they know is that 911 phone next to them with some buttons is critical. It's critical. So what we're asking here is let them keep their hard lines. If you have to invest and upgrade their hard lines, that's fine. But listen to your residents. Listen to your residents. So I want to start with Senator Murray, who has spoken to Bremer today, and he will give you the information on the most updated info. Senator?
Thank you, Neil. Thank you. So like everything in life, it's about compromise. It's about communication. It's about making sure that all sides are heard. So today I did speak with the administration here at Braemar and went over the situation, went over the concerns of their residents and the concern of why this was being done and whether this was being communicated properly. So what I found out was this. The change and the move, according to them, is basically inevitable because of the copper lines. They're moving to fiber optic, and it's a technological upgrade. It's happening. With that said, to some of the residents, it feels like it was dropped just out of the blue on them. There needs to be more communication. So what we came up with is we had actually a good conversation. First, there are 7 landlines currently in the library that will remain in the library. They'll be communal landlines. The changeover is being pushed back. It will not begin until the first of the year. In that time, they are to meet with every single resident that wants to speak to them so that they can take up their individual situation. And if there needs to be compromise made, if there needs to be a landline maybe left in one or not another, they need to discuss that. But the options need to be there. They've also told me they will talk to corporate to see if they may be even to delay this a little bit longer, even past the first of the year. So I think the willingness to at least have the conversations is progress. But again, as the councilman said, to drop change like this so quickly, so immediately, is disconcerting at the least. Some of the most important things, if not reaching out to emergency crews, it's also to be able to reach out at any time to your family members. And not just for them to be able to reach out, but for them to be able to receive the calls as well. And communal landlines don't exactly help with that. So with that said, hopefully we are making progress, but again, these residents need a voice. I thank my fellow government officials, the Supervisor Romaine, Councilman Foley, Assemblyman DeStefano, and of course Legislator Thorne, who've been on top of this and will remain on top of this until we come to a solution that's a compromise for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Next, we have our great Assemblyman, Joe DeStefano, who not only is the Assembly in the area, not only does he live in the area, but he's also a fireman in the area. Assemblyman?
Thank you, Councilman Foley, for putting this together. I want to start off by saying, as a standing member of the Aging Committee in Albany, it's my job to advocate for the older population that we have in our state. I can't imagine that the people that are getting older in this country and in this state in particular are being thrown at with this idea that they're not going to be able to live the lives they would like to live in their older and golden years. We all know that changes is a hard thing to accept, but only when it's necessary. This doesn't appear to be necessary to take this privilege away from our older Americans. We need to make sure that we keep fighting. I fight for the aging population every single session that we have in Albany, because they are what I hope to be someday. I hope to be getting older and having things that I need to get through in life, reaching out to my family, reaching out to my friends. And when that's taken away, it just puts them in a bad spot. It puts them in a bad way. And we don't want to do that to our older generation, because they laid the groundwork for us to be where we are today, and then we want to get to where they are. So we're going to fight in Albany every single day for protecting the rights and privileges of our older Americans, because they are what got us to where we are today. So thank you for allowing me to say a few words. You'll always have an advocate in Albany when it comes to our aging population. So thank you, Councilman Foley.
After the legislators will speak, more importantly, the most important people here are not the government officials, but two people that live here that can tell their own personal journey. Next is Legislator Dominic Thorne, who's probably the most hardworking legislator in Suffolk County and gets things done. So, Legislator.
Thank you, Councilman Foley, and my fellow government officials. The phone on the side of a bed. A gentle call from your family to let you know that we care, or that they care about you. The ability to call an ambulance for yourself, should you feel you need one. The ability to reach out to someone when you're just kind of lonely. These are all things they should never live without. And as a legislator and a EMS provider for almost 25 years in my prior life, mental health and physical health go hand in hand. I'm happy to stand with our colleagues in town, state government, and we stand with you every day of the week, and we'll never back down. So thank you so much, Councilman Foley, for putting this together. I stand with you, as well as everyone else, to ensure that our population does not get shortchanged. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Legislator. So the two people to my left are Paula and Pasquale, who live here. I've had multiple conversations with these folks over the last week or so. The emotions are high. It's not good for their health. They're really concerned. So let's hear their story. So Pasquale, you want to go first, my friend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Number one, I want you to know the phone is not free. We pay for this phone every month. And number two, I forgot who said that they got 7 phone lines, but people in wheelchairs cannot reach the phones. The phones are up in the air. So why have a phone if you can't get to it? That's all I got to say.
People who are in bed all day also cannot reach the phones.
You're right. That's the problem. That's why the landline should stay.
Definitely.
Paula, would you like to say a few words? Can you make it over here? You want us to?
Does that come off?
Okay, I agree with what Pasquale said. These poor people who don't know the first thing about a cell phone, let alone, I mean, it's just ridiculous. They depend upon the landlines to speak to their loved ones, their family, their friends, whatever, and to throw cell phones in their face is just unheard of and unacceptable. Some of these people, they have dementia and they can't even find their way to their room. So this is just unacceptable on every level. And like Pasquale said, how on earth are they going to reach the phone where they can't even get up out of the bed, or they're short, or they're in a wheelchair, or whatever the case may be? So that is my stance, though brief. I am just steadfast on this problem, and it should be worked out hopefully soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point, we'll open up for Q&A for any of the press or media that would like the elected officials or the residents some questions. Yes, ma'am.
Sounds to me like it's a fait accompli. If they're bringing in fiber optic and they're still not offering the option of landlines, which I can't understand because we all have telephones here and we have the option of landlines, then it sounds like it's a done deal to me. You spoke of January 1st, right?
So I think they're not, from what they told me, so I'm taking this from the conversation we had today, was that the intent is to leave some landlines. So my question to them was,
The one right next to the bed.
and my question to them was, if you can leave some, then when you meet with the individuals and hear their situation, can you also consider leaving some for those that still need it? So that's why there has to be communication.
You would be making the differentiation, but remember,
Right.
there's aging involved.
Oh, absolutely.
Lack, loss of ability. My brother has Parkinson's. He can hardly,
Right.
punch numbers in. He's only 65.
Right. So every story, every individual has their story, which is why they must be heard. That's why when we spoke to them, we said you need to push this back until you've spoken to every single individual resident to get their story and to see if you can work with them for their individual needs. Because you're right, if you've got 7 phones for several hundred residents that are hung up high and they can't even reach, well, that doesn't make sense. So that's where the conversation and the compromise must come into play.
The other thing I'm worried about is this. We have many assisted living facilities on Long Island. Multi-Bedford Care Center, Affinity.
I'll tell her.
You start.
Yeah, you done. So her question is this the beginning? This could be a movement of different nursing homes, assisted living operations. I think what you're seeing here is we want to put a line in the sand. It's really ridiculous, everybody. We have over 200 residents here, and you're talking about 7 landlines. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Once again, this could be a life and death situation. Let them keep their phones. The bottom line, please let them keep their phones. Yes, Nicole.
Do we know the original reason they provided for taking them away?
The senator mentioned before it was more. You want to jump in there?
Yeah, I'd asked if it was a financial thing, and they said no, it was because of the changeover from the copper cables to fiber optic. So they said it's happening everywhere, but they said it wasn't a cost factor.
How would the switchover affect the landlines?
That's what my question was too. If anything, that would be a temporary delay, but you could certainly hook them back up. So that's why, again, these conversations need to continue to make sure that we're addressing every single individual's needs, but that we're also holding them to task on making sure these residents have what they need.
You can ask a neighbor here, a neighbor there. Do you have a landline? Do you have a landline? I bet they have landlines. You know, if you're older and you want one. I know I have. an
Majority of Americans still in 2023 have landlines.
Or have the ability to.
Right. So,
And some people can't hear on the cell phones.
Nicole.
The residents are paying for them currently.
What?
Maybe that she said she don't do cell phones.
Well, they do so many things, but I just do basic calling, Facebook.
I emailed them, they did not respond.
My
They were
husband
gonna
handed
lower
it
the
to me,
rate.
so I.
But that resident that was just in the wheelchair said they told her they're gonna raise it $35 a month if they have to keep the phone.
So basically, the residents are paying $65 a month for phone, internet, and cable. If the landlines are staying, this gentleman did quote, and I don't know, that's what they said, that they would raise the rates an additional $35 to $90 a month. You're talking about a group of individuals, obviously on a fixed income. I mean, at the end of the day, is this the right thing to do? I say honestly, no. Just don't do it. Oh, is he? Okay. I was just informed that Supervisor Romaine, who is, will be here in 1 minute, and this issue was brought to our attention in the town around 10 days ago. And we felt compelled to alert you, to alert the residents that we were going to do something about it. And obviously you're seeing different levels of government working together. I have a mother who's 82 years old. I would be extremely angry if this was happening to her. So I can just tell you from a personal perspective. Carl, you have any questions?
Yeah, I was wondering if press conference is good, but is there anything else that any of you can do on the town, county, or state level to file a formal complaint with somebody to investigate?
We have reached out to the Attorney General, her office at the state. Right now, there is nothing that we can do because they haven't removed the lines. What we're doing is we are explaining and giving them our opinion on this issue. We don't want to see it happen in this town, this county, or this state. And like this lady brought up before, this sounds like this could be happening everywhere now. You're talking about a generation of people that did not grow up with this type of technology. You know, to ask a 40-year-old to do this, that's a whole different ballgame. But to ask anybody who is 75 or older, it's just not fair. They did not grow up with this technology, and let them have their landlines.
And we in the county also will be contacting the Office of the Aging to ensure that their rights are protected every day of the week. And that's exactly what that county entity is for. And we'll make sure that their rights are protected and their safety is priority.
At this point, I'd like to introduce the great supervisor of Brookhaven, Edward P. Romaine.
I'm here to support my colleague, Councilman Neil Foley, who's worked very hard on this issue, as well as other elected officials, Assemblyman Joe DeStefano and State Senator Dean Murray, and finally my colleague, County Legislator. How are you, sir?
Good.
We're here because there was a proposal to end the landlines here, which we do not think should happen. Myself, Neil, Dan Panico, our deputy supervisor, signed a letter in which we said this should not happen. We sent that in, and we think that the landlines should stay. Now, I know there's a compromise proposal in the offing where there'd be 7 landlines. That's a step in the right direction, but we're going to insist that the needs of the residents be met. The one thing that I've seen repeatedly is Councilman Foley and the rest of these elected officials go to bat for the people that live here. So I'm here to support that effort. I will stand with them, and I will stand with the residents so that they have the security and the phone lines, the landlines that they need, so that they don't have to depend on wireless, okay? And while management has offered to have training sessions on wireless, which I think is a good thing, nevertheless, I think the landlines should stay. And I'll leave it to Neil to wrap it up. Oh, okay.
So I wanted to say one more thing in answer to your question. So the health department did look into this, and according to the state regulations, you need 1 landline for every 40 residents. So while technically they may be in compliance, you just heard that of the 7 landlines that are there, many are out of reach. I don't know if that violates ADA compliance, but this is the type of thing, and this is why we need to be here, to stay on top and make sure you don't just get a blanket answer without the details, because the details matter. And in this case, when you find out details like that, it is troubling. So they do need to make adjustments. They need to make sure they're accounting for the needs of every single resident here, and we won't stop until they do so.
That's right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much. I want to thank you for all coming out. I want to personally thank Pasquale and Paula. Thank you. Some advocates to my rights and the elected officials. Let them keep their lines. So, thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Landlines for all.
Thank you very much.
Landlines for all.